to Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King, coming to you live from the highest definition studios here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, the home of Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune. Last night was a heavy show, ladies and gentlemen. We covered everything from, as they say in the church, Genesis to Revelation, about our health and wellness. And being that I have a team that helps me operate this program strategically, we have actually a team of 5 people that helped me put this show together. One of the things that we recognized was we needed to have a secondary voice with Dr. Vishkar. We wanted to have someone that now gives us some practical app. And that was important. And, you know, because we interview and pre-interview hundreds of people to be on this show every single week, y'all. I said, man, somebody came into our trajectory and somebody came into our line of focus, and it was like, man, this is going to be perfect. We've got the doctor first and then the nutritional expert second. And so I'm just delighted. But before we get into all of that, I just want to tell you guys one thing, that I am thankful. And I know I part of this is entertainment, y'all. So a podcast is part entertainment. But I am very, very thankful for all of our supporters who tune in faithfully week in and week out. You guys really are what makes this thing work. And if there was nobody listening, I guess I would have to go stock shelves somewhere. So I'm very, very grateful that we have people listening to our show from all across the country and literally around the world. I was sharing with my guest tonight, the United States, Canada, Brazil, United Kingdom, Ireland, Iran, and Netherlands. Y'all hear that? So the show is growing. When we first started, I don't even think my cat was listening to the show. And so, hey, Greg, the VP is in the house, and he's already got your information plugged up there. So I'm very blessed to have someone of this caliber joining us tonight. Adrian Delgado. She is a registered licensed dietitian and has almost 20 years of experience in outpatient nutrition care. Adrian's passions include helping her patients have a positive relationship with food, improving energy levels, and empowering her clients to live their best life. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, 2020 is gone. Okay, y'all can't get that back. It's time for us to start living our best life. As a working mother of 5 children, that's right, 5, she understands firsthand the challenges of balancing health and responsibilities. Adrian's specialty involves teaching clients how to create new habits, which include mindful eating tips, techniques, and root work. So I am so delighted to have in our virtual studios, hailing all the way from Pennsylvania, my friend and great coach of life, all things nutrition, my friend, Adrian Delgado. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun.
And I tell you what, those introductions just keep getting better and better. Don't you think, Adrian?
I sure do.
Dr. A is going to say, man, my introduction wasn't that good last night. So again, yes, Greg is talking about M&Ms already before we get the show started. And we're going to put him in timeout, right?
That's right. Your nutrition timeout until you can make a better choice.
I'm very, very thankful, Adrian. You know, we set this up several weeks ago, and I'm delighted for you to be with our live audience as well as our podcast audience, which, as we said, is heard throughout the country and around the world. So before we get started, this is something that we always do. This is probably the 2 areas that I repeat in the show. The rest of it, we just wing it, you know? So tell everyone how they can contact you, Adrian, because I know that you're going to give some great information out, and we're going to spread this out throughout the night. How can people get up with you?
So a couple couple different ways. Number one, probably through our website, which is bodymetricspa.com. That is Bodymetrics Health and Wellness Services. That's the business that I run, an outpatient nutrition practice. We're also on Instagram, Facebook. Our handle is at Bodymetrics Health. And then I also have a podcast called Nourish, Eat, Repeat, where I talk a lot about some of the concepts that we're going to talk about tonight. So
awesome. And that you said that fast. You know, them northern folks talk fast. So you said the name of your podcast is Nourish, Eat, Repeat.
Correct. Yes. Okay. It's actually after my book that I wrote.
That's right. And so I want you guys to go check out her podcast now. And you again can find her on all of the hosts of podcast outlets, but you can also find her on the web. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those outlets. And we're going to ask her to give her information out throughout the night, because you're going to want to connect with this great guest that we have. And so as always, this is the second area that's very predictable, Adrian. It's very, very predictable, and it usually catches a lot of people off guard. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because, hey, we're not strangers. Me and you know one another. It almost feels like a family reunion of sorts, but my guests don't know you. So give us a little insight about who Adrian Delgado is.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned in my introduction, I'm a registered dietitian. I have been practicing nutrition for almost 20 years, which I don't know how that's possible because I just graduated college a year or two ago. But my kids' ages tell me otherwise, that I am older than that. So yes, I am a dietitian. I run a thriving outpatient practice in a suburb of Philadelphia with my husband. And I love all things nutrition. I try to live all things nutrition, because I always tell my clients, I will never ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And so I think it's really important to have integrity in this field and not just tell people what to do, but actually do it through example, so I can understand what the challenges are and we can work through them together. Like you mentioned, I have 5 kids. I have 3 boys and twin girls who always keep me on my toes. I actually started out my career in education as a pre-med student, but I knew in my heart that I wanted a family. I knew I wanted a large family. And so I needed to find a career path that could integrate my love of medicine and health with being there for my kids, and nutrition was that perfect blend. I enjoy running. I love to run in the summer. I'm not a cold weather exerciser, so you'll find me indoors. And I love gardening. So we have a huge garden at our house where we grow lots of fruits and vegetables. Again, that's just one of our passions, bringing that whole nutrition realm full circle with not only the education piece, but the practical application.
That's awesome, man. And thank you, Greg, for putting up her book, because there's a book that she has written called Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, A Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthier Mind, Body, and Life. And so you can get that book on all major outlets. I'm assuming you can get it at Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all those places.
Yeah, and it's on our website as well. So Amazon's probably the easiest. You can get the ebook version, or you can get the hard copy.
Yeah. And I'm always trying to shake my guests down for a copy of their books, because I always like the personal autographs that I get. Hint, hint. So anyway, I'm hoping that through osmosis, I will get a copy of Nourish, Eat, and Repeat. And this is written by my guest, Adrian Delgado, mother of 5. And so did you give us the ages of those children?
My boys are 15, 14, and 11. And so they eat us out of house and home. And then I have twin 9-year-old girls. God.
Yeah, that 15, 14, 11, and 9. So you did the stair step thing just like Charity and I. We have you by 2 kids, but all of them are just a mere 12 to 24 months apart. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's all a blur. I'll be honest. I don't remember any of it. So don't ask me what happened, back in 2009, because I don't remember a thing.
I have to concur that the more children that ladies have, their memory just goes like, my wife is a living testament to that. I'm like, babe, what we have for dinner last night? I don't know. I didn't even know I was at the house.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Actually, that's actually a really good point. That's why I wrote the book. The whole point of the book was to actually write down things about my own lifestyle, because I was realizing I was forgetting important moments and important stories. But then it ended up morphing into a book where I used, some of those really funny experiences that we had as a family and converting them into nutrition lessons. So it ended up merging my personal and professional experience into something that was really helpful for my clients and beyond.
That's really cool. Thank you guys for tuning in to Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King. And I'm joined in the virtual studios, of course, with Greg and our team in the background. Thank you guys for helping us so much. Additionally, our virtual guest in the virtual studio is Adrian Delgado, and she is the founder and CEO at Body Metrics PA. And you can find that institution at www.bodymetricspa.com, or you can find them on Body Metrics Health on Instagram and Facebook. She's also the author of Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, a busy woman's guide to a healthier mind, body, and life. Now, when did you realize, see, I do a pre-show with everybody, guys, and I ask them questions, and then I bring them on the show, and I don't ask them any of the questions I asked them in the pre-show. That's what I love about my job. When did you realize that you were a busy mom and, hey, look, I need to I need to put some chronology to all these movements that are happening in my life so that maybe I can help another woman who's in my same situation? When did this come about?
Well, I think it's during my practice. I mean, we have a very busy outpatient practice, and I realized that a lot of the struggles that my clients are coming into the office with are things that I struggle with as well, just through experience. And so I realized that, hey, if there was a way to document this or to try to help people navigate their way through it in a way that provided support and encouragement, that was a gap that needed to be filled.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think that's important because the one thing that that I've spoken about at beyond how many times I can count is this element called time, and none of us get more of it. And we always seem to be putting more elements on our plate, and we never have enough time. We never have a surplus of time. And so being a mother with a thriving practice and all of that you've got going on, you've got 5 beautiful children, and you guys have had some experiences that you said, okay, I need to start writing this stuff down and putting this into some chronology. So I want you to kind of share, we're going to do this throughout the night, and just at your whatever you want to pick, you got some interesting nuggets in your book that you share. So let's start the show out with one of those interesting nuggets that you could share with us.
all right. Well, I actually start out with one of the stories in the beginning of the book where we talk about cooking, right? And the value of cooking, because so much of our culture now is quick, easy, convenient.
Right.
Right. We now have apps on our phone that we can just literally push buttons and food comes to our house.
Grubhub.
We don't even need to get dressed anymore. Like, it just comes to us. And so part of this challenge is, when we talk about our health and taking ownership for our health, it's actually doing some of the cooking so we can control the ingredients and the health value. And so I think people just assume if you're a dietitian or you talk about food, you just must know everything about cooking. And I did not. When I first got married, I didn't know how to cook at all. In fact, I had the fire department at my house probably 4 times in a matter of 2 months.
Really?
All right.
Were you burning water? What were you doing?
Listen, I burned it all. But when we moved into the house that we lived in, owners previous, his father owned a security system. And so they tricked out this whole house. I mean, it had every type of alarm. It had every type of feature possible. I mean, the smoke alarm would go off. It wouldn't just go off. It was a speaking alarm that would yell, fire, fire, please leave immediately. And whoop, 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 outside alarm so that the whole neighborhood could hear that your house was on fire. And it would go immediately right to the fire department. So it didn't matter if there was a little smoke in your house, that immediately, as soon as it was tripped, I had the fire department at my house, and it didn't matter what I did. I would, please don't send the fire department. I'm sorry, ma'am, they're already dispatched. And I would have to do the walk of shame out to my front porch and wait for the fire trucks to come down so I could tell them everything is okay. There was a little smoke. I'm sorry. Oh, you want to talk about PTSD? Every time I hear a fire alarm, like my heart stops, because immediately it's, oh my gosh, the fire alarms company, the fire trucks, oh, they're all coming, and it's horrible.
So I'm assuming all these years later, you've gotten a little bit better at preparing some meals without fire trucks showing up, right?
I have. Well, I'll tell you what, I cut some wires. After the fourth time that they were at our house, I just started cutting wires, because I'm like, I can't have this anymore. Like, this fire alarm cannot keep going off with the fire company. In fact, the area that we lived in, they actually changed the rules that they now charge you if they come out unnecessarily. So that was all because of me. I did that. I created that rule.
So now when we talked to Dr. A last night, and he gave us some really dynamic insights on obesity and some things that we need to be mindful of and address. And we got comments and feedback from our audience. But we're taking it from another perspective that, okay, so yeah, there's one extreme, there's the obesity piece, and we need to obviously recognize that and look at that. But we also need to recognize maybe some of the things that are preceding that, and maybe some of the habits and behaviors that are before that. So is there a common set of behaviors that would get us to need to be talking to a Dr. A? Because nutrition is important, but I don't know if everyone values nutrition to the point where they think about it in their conscious mind all day long.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned earlier, convenience is key, right? Everybody wants the quick, easy meal. I would say I have people that are retired that come into my office and they say, I need some quick, easy meal ideas. I was like, why do you need quick ideas? Where are you going? Like during COVID, where are you going? You're not going anywhere. Right. But we have this mentality that it needs to be quick, easy, and convenient because we don't have time to invest into our health. Especially with COVID, we went from, getting ready for work, getting into our car, walking from our car to our desk, to walking from our bedroom to our office or our kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's the thought of we're not moving as much as we used to. We're choosing convenience. Just the fact that we have refrigerators 10 feet away from us now, right? Because we're working from home, that also has put us at a disadvantage. I think it's looking at the systems you have in place, and really taking and breaking them down and seeing, is this helpful? Is this working towards my ultimate goal of health, or is it taking me away from that goal?
Okay, so a mother's listening to us tonight, and she's saying, Adrian, I appreciate you. I appreciate your farm and you're growing your food and all that kind of stuff. But listen, honey, I got to go in the office. I'm there from 9 to 5. I got to pick up the kids at soccer practice. So you help us navigate the busyness of life and still inject positive nutrition. Give us some tips on how you do that.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, probably one of the easiest tips that you can do is buy a vegetable tray.
Okay.
Right? So we always think that veggie trays are for picnics and parties and social gatherings. They're not. They're for everyday use. And the reason being is because it's convenient. If you want to choose to eat more vegetables, you have to put them on equal playing field as the pretzel. You think about when you're hungry, you want immediate gratification. You want to open up a bag and have food into your mouth in less than 3 seconds.
Right.
But you can't do that with a vegetable because you got to take it out of the drawer. You got to wash it. You got to chop it. You got to clean it. You got to find a container to put it in. That's too many steps.
Right.
Our brain will always go to the path of least resistance. And so if you want to choose the healthier food, you have to get it prepared in a way that will enable you to choose it with as much ease as the pretzel.
See, and you just revealed something that I must confess to our global audience, that she's right. Okay. When I go to that refrigerator at the ranch here in Jacksonville and I see quick Pop-Tarts, or you know what I mean, I got to skin the zucchini down at the bottom of the drawer that's been in there 3.5 weeks and it's on its last leg. I'm like, you know what? I'm going with the Pop-Tart. But the truth of the matter is that we can build convenience into our healthy eating.
Sure, absolutely. But that's what we want to do. We need to make it easy, accessible, attractive, right? There's nothing more attractive than nice little piles of neat washed vegetables all in a row in a circle.
Yeah.
And so then we're more inclined to choose it. Another tip is, if you ever walk into the kitchen and you don't know what you want, that is not hunger. 9 times out of 10, that's thirst.
Okay, good.
All right. Because we know this to be true, because we'll all stand in front of the refrigerator and we'll open up the doors and we'll be like, what do I want? What do I want? Mm-hmm. And then you eat something and you're like, no, that wasn't it. What do I want? That is not hunger. That is thirst. And that's right. That's your brain trying to get hydration in any way it can.
I have said that was with my kids. I said that was boredom, because I'm telling you what, if I had $1 for every time I saw that refrigerator open, Adrian, I'd be an absolute multi-millionaire. Because they're looking in there and it's just like, okay, I'm sitting over there on the other side of the room and I'm just like, hey, y'all, what are you looking for? Especially if it's in the middle of the week. We already went grocery shopping. Nothing else is going to magically appear in there. What y'all looking for?
That's right. That's right. And the other thing that I always encourage my clients to do is get really good at identifying physical hunger signals. So a lot of us, we assume, oh yeah, I know what it's like to be hungry. But if I were to ask you, all right, Mr. King, what is your physical hunger cue? How does your body communicate hunger? What would you say?
That's interesting, because today I practiced a little fasting, because remember we talked to Dr. A last night about that. I said I was going to try some, and really, what is my physical cue? It's sometimes, or my cue is time. Like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, so I'm supposed to eat at 5, because that's the time we always eat.
Right. And this is a concept called intuitive eating. It's, allowing our body to run the show. So many times with diets, we try to tell ourselves when to be hungry and when to be full. And we take out the intuitive factor, where we actually listen to our bodies. So when I usually instruct my clients, I talk about our plate. How should we set up our plate to be successful? Right. So we talk about, use your hand, because your hand goes with you everywhere you go, right? You don't have to bring any cups, measuring cups or anything like that. You've got your hand.
Right.
So a quarter of your plate should be your protein. So this can be your meat, your fish, your turkey, your beans. It's the size of the palm of your hand and the thickness.
Okay.
If you have big hands, get excited, because you get a bigger portion. It's proportionate to you.
Yes, sir. I got some big ones.
All right. So that's about a quarter of your plate. Your starch should be about a fist. It's another quarter of your plate.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other 50% of your plate should be 2 open palms. That's your vegetable. All right. So that's just an easy way to figure out, how do I set up my plate so that I'm getting all the nutrition I need, but also in a much more balanced way? Because a lot of us are doing a big hunk of meat, a lot of starch, and then just a little bit of vegetable to make ourselves feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, some green garnishment on there.
That's right. Some kale garnish. That's what we do.
So, all right. So here we are at another interval. Tell us, before we go to our 9 o'clock break, we have a 9 o'clock break. I forgot to tell you about that, but you don't have to go anywhere. Tell us another little interesting nugget from your book.
All right. Another story. So there was the time that I took my twin girls, they were probably around 6 at the time, into a porta potty with life vests on. So I want you to think about all this, because taking one child into a porta potty is horrific enough, but I'm going to take that and raise the stakes and take 2 in. And let's also make sure we know they are girls. So taking boys into a porta potty and taking girls is a much different experience.
Yes, ma'am.
You're holding things up. You have all bodily fluids all over your body. And then we're all wearing life vests because we were going on a family rafting trip. Where is my husband, you may ask? Oh, he went down to the water to get us a good raft, as if there is such a thing. So
he knew. He said, "Oh, I can see the writing on the wall from this right here. I am not having nothing to do with that." Going into a porta potty is one experience. Going into a porta potty with life vests on is another. And then being female, that's got to be. You should probably get Mother of the Year for pulling that one off.
Well, a wise man once told me that we lead with our strengths and we connect with our weaknesses.
Yes, that's the truth.
And so that's the whole point of this story. Like, I am no different than any other person reading the book or listening to this podcast. I have the same struggles. But I have found some really significant ways and tips and techniques to navigate our way through it so we can come out on the other side successful.
That's powerful. It is the 9 o'clock hour, ladies and gentlemen, and our gold sponsors get this out this time to get acknowledged. If you want to become a sponsor on Impact Life 24/7 and you like to be a gold sponsor, you get a commercial for the life of your sponsorship. So one of our sponsors is Greg Smith. He is the author of 100 Simple Ways How to Manage a Property and Evidence Room. I want you to get a copy of his book today by reaching out to him at Gregory Smith on Facebook, or you can email him at smithg1963@yahoo.com. Michelle Perry, who's been on this show and is a part of our Leadership Institute. She's also the founder of Successful Diligence LLC, and she's the host of the Successful Diligence podcast. She's a best-selling author, and that name of that book is called The Pebble in My Shoe. I'd love for you to get a copy of that book. You can connect with Michelle and get a copy of her book, the best-selling book, Pebble in My Shoe, at www.successfuldiligence.com. Adrianne Barker, she is the host of the Adrian Barker Show. She's going to be on our show very soon here. She's a gold sponsor. She has a podcast. She's also a life coach and CEO of Professional Global Etiquette. And so I'd love for you to connect with her at professionalglobaletiquette.com. And then, of course, the CL King Group is a gold sponsor. And let me just tell you guys something also about Greg. I forgot to tell you, Greg has paid so much money into sponsoring this show. He is a lifetime platinum sponsor. So how do you figure out how much he's given? Thank you, Greg. Thank you to all of our gold sponsors, and we really appreciate it. If you'd like to become a sponsor, just go to clkingspeaker.com. 3 levels, $1, $5, and $15. And those help us continue our mission. So back to my friend and nutritionist. That was a pretty good commercial. Adrian Delgado. She is all things nutrition, but she's also just super, super down to earth and helps people in their mission. I'm looking here for the name of her book, and it's called Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, A Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthier Mind, Body, and Life. And so you can get that book on Amazon, or you can reach out to her on all of her social media platforms. And you can find her on Instagram and Facebook at Body Metrics Health, and also on her website, bodymetricspa.com. So when you started, seeing, the fruits of your labor relative to your home, you realized that you guys, started adopting some behaviors that contributed to healthy nutrition. So when someone is listening to us tonight for the second night in a row, we're doing this health series. how important is behavior? Because, it's like, Adrian, I can't change my behavior. Every day I drive past McDonald's and I just get called into the parking lot. So how does someone change their behavior? It seems an insurmountable task to do.
Yeah. And I think if you're focusing just on the behaviors, it is going to feel overwhelming.
Okay.
So sometimes what I like to talk about is changing your identity, right?
Okay.
Because if you're a person, and I'm a big fan of not using adjectives to describe your eating habits. For example, if you call your child a picky eater, it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where that child stops trying new foods. That child won't eat specific food groups because I'm a picky eater and that's what picky eaters do. Right.
Right.
So I talk about that a lot with our own eating habits. Like we call ourselves, and I'm an emotional eater. Right. Well, guess what? You are a human being that is going to have lots of emotions because we are emotional creatures. And so every time you have a big emotion, if you call yourself an emotional eater, you're going to fulfill that prophecy by eating because that's who you are. That's your identity. And so part of it is, oh, I'm just the person that every time I drive past McDonald's, I have to stop, through that. We need to have different systems in place. So something that I personally do is I do not debit anything under $10.
Ooh.
We learned very early on in my marriage that I don't do well with having cash in my wallet. Okay. My husband used to give me cash every week. And that I never had somebody give me cash before. My parents didn't just give me cash. And so when I got married and he would give me cash at the beginning of the week, I'd be like, sweet, I'm going to Marshall's. I guess I'm getting a new shirt because he gave me money. Right. And then I remember one day he's like, oh, do you mind stopping at the store and grabbing milk or, something that we needed? And I was like, oh, well, I need money. And he's like, well, I gave you money at the beginning of the week. And I was like, oh, that's what that money is for, like to run the house.
Right.
So I got myself a debit card, but I was always so scared that I didn't know what he was taking out of the account. I didn't want to get us, take too much money out. Right. And so I just made it a habit of not debiting anything under $10 because anything under $10 is more of a want. It's not a need.
Well, that's powerful.
And that keeps me out of every fast food restaurant drive-through. Up here in the north, we have a Wawa. I don't know if you guys have Wawa in North Carolina, but I'm sure there's some equivalent to it. But I always tell people, like those gas stations, they're for gas, and you can pay at the pump.
Right.
Like there's no reason to go inside and just see what they have because seeing is not going to be enough.
Get the hot dog and the drink and the snack cake for $2.99, right?
I was gonna say, and it's always a deal.
Right.
Like you're almost like, it doesn't make sense not to buy this. I mean, it would be a sin to walk past and not grab this.
Why leave this great deal at the gas station when we could get this? Boy, that's
right.
Right.
So it's all about protecting your eyes. It's all about creating new habits. But really, when you make it a part of who you are, that's when you can really adopt it and believe in it. And then you start doing the things, the behaviors that coincide with that identity.
Wow. In a minute, I'm going to ask you about root work because you talk about that as a unique program designed to figure out why we over desire food and how to create healthier habits. But the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, this is something that we mentioned in the pre-show. We talked about meal prep and meal planning. Mm-hmm. Help us understand, the difference between the two and why meal plans are actually a really good thing to institute and an easy thing to institute.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this comes down to, I always call this the meeting the brain. Right? Getting really familiar with the different parts of our brain. And so the two parts that I always like to talk about are in the front, we have something called the prefrontal cortex. And this part of our brain is responsible for long-term decision-making, habits, consequences, goals. Mm-hmm. All right. This is what we want to do. Right. Then we have in the back of our brain called the midbrain, and that's our toddler brain. The midbrain always makes decisions based on pain avoidance and immediate gratification.
Yes.
And that midbrain always talks up first. It always speaks up first, always has its hand raised. Oh, pick me. I know the answer. We do the thing that's quick and easy before your prefrontal cortex has a chance to weigh in. And so meal planning is a way to get your prefrontal cortex involved instead of just trying to wing it as you go.
Ah,
I have yet to meet somebody successful that just wings it every day.
right.
Because again, that midbrain starts to chime in and say, hey, I know how to handle this. We'll just go through the drive-through because it's the quick, easy, convenient way.
Wow.
Instead of saying, hey, well, let's think about our health goals. We know if we cook at home, it's going to be healthier, less sugar, less fat, less salt, less calories.
Less money.
Less money. Yes.
Yeah.
So meal planning is an opportunity for you to think about what you're doing for the week. Now, I have two special rules when it comes to meal planning. All right. So number one is you want to make sure you always include 2 Plan B meals for the week. So let me explain. Plan A is what the plan is. Like Tuesday, I'm going to have chicken, sweet potatoes, and broccoli. Wednesday, we're going to do tacos. It's whatever you write out for your plan for the week.
Right.
But we all know that plans can change on a dime and that they can, we have good intentions, but then we get called in to work later, or our kid needs to be picked up and we weren't expecting to do that. We get a flat tire on the way home.
Right.
And then all of a sudden our well-intentioned plan gets thrown out the window in favor of takeout, in favor of I'll grab a pizza.
Right.
Right. Going out to eat should always be plan C. We need an interjectory plan B, a backup plan. So it's not necessarily our plan A, the perfect plan that we had chosen ahead of time when we had our best interest at heart,
Right.
but it's not going out to eat.
Right.
And so these are those quick, easy meals that you always have on hand that you can always grab and know you can count on if plan A isn't going to come to fruition.
That's so good, man.
Right.
And so let me ask you this, just from a married couple's perspective. I mean, do you guys go out to eat often?
We go out about once a week.
Okay. Yeah. And I've now I feel better because that's about our ratio and our frequency. But it is built into our week. We plan it in our date night. And I think the reason why I wanted her, ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in to Back to Life 24/7, I like to welcome you, those folks that pass by, and also say hello to our podcast audience. I have in my virtual studios Adrian Delgado, and one of the reasons why I wanted to go down that road is because I have people on my show that deal with financial management and life management. Dr. Dunlap is a financial wizard and expert of life preparation and such. And we give a lot of time to that, but we don't give a lot of time to preparing and planning for our health and wellness. It is almost like it's an afterthought, like it's not intentional at all. We, like you say, we're just winging it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The second really important part is when you meal plan, especially if you live with other people, is you need to post that meal plan for everyone to see. All right. Because there is nothing more frustrating than putting in the time to cook a meal than to put it on the table and have everybody complain about it.
Right.
Right. There's no motivation to continue cooking for your family when all they do is complain.
Yes.
Right. And as you know, when you have large families, there are lots of opinions.
Yes.
Right. So what I have found is when you post the menu plan for everyone to see, so I write it out, what are we having every day? And there's flexibility, obviously, like I can switch Tuesday and Thursday around. But if I post the meal plan for everyone to see, there's less complaining.
Right.
Now, I didn't say there's no complaining. I said there's less complaining.
There's less. Right. Exactly.
It's almost as if you go to a restaurant and let's say you're going to a favorite restaurant and you have in your mind what you're going to order. Okay. I'm going to a steakhouse. I'm really excited for this steak. And I don't even need to see the menu because I know exactly what I'm getting.
Right.
And you sit at the table and all of a sudden your server comes up to you and says, tonight we're not actually ordering off of the menu. We're doing a chef's choice.
Uh-oh.
And you're like, whoa, what do you mean chef's choice?
Right.
And instead of having a steak, they bring you out grilled chicken.
Ooh, bad.
And you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, grilled chicken is fine, but I was really hoping for the steak. That's what I had my mindset on.
Right.
That's almost how your kids view dinner every night when they don't know what the plan is.
I get it.
In their head, it's going to be something exciting. It's going to be, oh, mom's making mac and cheese tonight, like, because she knows that's what I really like. And then when you sit chicken and sweet potatoes and broccoli in front of them, they're like, I don't want this.
What in the world is she doing?
Exactly. So when you post the meal plan, they can start to plan their reaction to the food, and they can start to see, all right, so Tuesday's not my favorite, but Wednesday's coming up and I like Wednesday. So I just know I got to get through Tuesday. But when they don't know and it's a surprise every night, there's a lot of complaining. And then what I usually find is parents quit. Yeah. Because that 5 o'clock hour is hard.
Right.
Everybody's exhausted. Everybody's tired. Everybody's hungry. And parents quit and they do what's quick and easy and convenient because I don't want to have another fight right now.
That's interesting because I probably need to institute what you're saying even within our home, because my kids are not as young as yours. I got the 4 left at the house. They range in age from 21, 19, 18, and 16. So they're all working. All of us work, all different schedules. So there are times when I'm like, oh, I'm going to cook this great meal for the family and nobody's here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so I think if everyone, and we got to work on this, letting our schedule, working our schedules out with amongst each other. But man, if I could say, hey, look, all right, Thursday, if everyone's here, we're going to have blah, blah, blah. And man, that could really, I think, even ease some of the anxiety that I have, because I like to do most of the cooking because I feel like I'm Chef Boyardee. You know what I'm saying? But that is so good that you talk about putting the meal plan out to the family and letting them know, so that way there's, like you said, less complaining. So tell us another quick nugget from the book.
Oh, another story?
Yes, of course.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So let's see here. I can talk about the time my oldest son was playing lacrosse, and we were all out there to watch him play, all 6 of us. It was probably 98 degrees. We're all under this 2-person tent trying to stay out of the elements because we're on like a desert lacrosse field. Right. And if you've ever, had 2-year-olds with you, twin 2-year-olds, trying to keep them in one position while it's hot out, it was a mess. And so my husband is very sunscreen savvy. Like he's make sure that they're covered, they're wearing hats. Well, he asked for my one son to get sunscreen for the twins. He says I can spray it, ends up spraying it in the girl's eyes. Now all of us are in a 2-person tent and we look like a traveling circus. I mean, everybody's arms are flailing, kids are crying. We finally get the girl to settle down. I try to wash out her eye with the one water bottle that we have that we're trying to ration between 6 of us in 98-degree weather. She finally falls asleep and we're sitting there and it's like, okay, finally, like, cause I always tell people we're that family. Like right. We are the traveling circus. We're the object of everybody's attention wherever we go. Cause there's just, when there's a lot of you, there's nothing discreet about you.
Right.
And we finally get to the point where the one girl, she settles down and all of a sudden I feel warm and wet. And that's right. She peed all over me. So now, but I can't wake her. I can't do anything because she's finally quiet. Right. And, it's all about when you're a traveling circus, at least travel well, right? Yeah, right. Prep for it, meal prep for it. Don't try to wing it. Just, the more you can plan ahead of time, the less stress and chaos, the more likely you are to be successful.
Please take more than one bottle for all 6 of y'all, huh?
Seriously. I don't even know how that happened, but we were literally rationing. No, you can't have a big sip. Like everybody, little sips for this game. I mean, honestly, it was ridiculous.
I remember those days. Those are some good days right there. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Adrian Delgado. She is the author of a great book. It's called Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, A Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthier Mind and Body and Life. You can find her on many different outlets. You can find the book on Amazon and all different outlets. But of course, you can also connect with Adrian. That's what we would love for you to do. You can find her on Facebook at Body Metrics Health, or you can find her on her website. You can find more about what they're doing on their website at bodymetricspa.com. So here we are, at a point where we just came out, we're on the other side, hopefully, of a time that we've never been in before, Adrian. And a lot of people have, COVID has affected people a lot of different ways, and it's not been a cookie cutter pandemic. And sometimes we have a tendency to go to our tribal instincts and eat everything that's in the refrigerator when something's not going well. And someone would say to Adrian, they would say, well, how do I even get started? I heard the doctor last night talking about obesity. I may not be there, but I'm on my way there if I keep this up. How do I get started making the shift, turning the corner? What would you give them as an indicator or a tip on how to at least get started?
Yeah. Well, a couple different things. Number one, it's always start small. Mm-hmm. I think we devalue the power of small changes. We think we need this big, humongous lifestyle change, right? Or especially if we've had success in the past with nutrition and being healthy. We have this vision of what we think it should look like and that we should be able to do all the things at once.
Right.
But you're right. COVID has changed us. We live in a different time, and we need to extend that grace to ourselves to allow us to realize, hey, we're coming at this brand new again, and that's okay. Right. We need to see that small changes, they almost work like you were talking about financial stuff earlier. They almost work like compound interest. Like in the beginning, it's just a little bit, saving $10 each week. Does that really mean anything? But over time, when you start, throwing in compound interest, all of a sudden, $10 a week has huge outcomes.
So I noticed that I didn't want to forget about this. The Root Work program. It's a program that you created. Give us some insights about that.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer is if you don't change the mindset while you're working on the health changes, those changes are going to be short lasting. And nutrition is a long game. Yeah. Right. What gets you there keeps you there. So if you don't like what you're doing, or you don't figure out how to change your thoughts around food, or change the way you talk to yourself or how you view food, it's going to be a short journey. And that's why everybody yo-yos. There's some great programs out there. There's Weight Watchers, there's Jenny Craig, there's all those commercial programs. But the one flaw of those programs is they don't teach you how to change your mindset around food. They just teach you how to follow a bunch of rules. But then what happens when you don't want to follow the rules anymore, or the rules get too hard, or they require too much time and effort? Right? That's why we yo-yo. And yo-yoing, you want to talk about from a scientific standpoint, yo-yo dieting is actually harder on your heart than staying at an overweight category.
Gotcha.
But, we don't know how to do it any other way, because that's what the diet industry has taught us. You weigh and measure all your food, you restrict all your food, and you'll lose weight temporarily. But there's also that other piece that we're missing. It's the how to talk to yourself, how to create different habits, how to look at food differently. And so that's what I mean by the root work. It's getting to the root of the problem. How do you talk to yourself at 9:00 at night when you want chocolate?
Yeah.
A diet will tell you just don't eat it. Well, you and I both know it's not that simple. Let's ask Greg when he wants M&Ms at 9:00 at night, right?
Greg be.
I'm thinking on Greg and I don't even know him.
Yeah, Greg be tiptoeing out at the middle of the night, sneaking them M&Ms. Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to follow up on, because we talked about this in the the pre-show, and I love for you to kind of give us another insight. I talked to Dr. A last night about the difference in weight loss with men and women, and you have a very, very profound insight on this. And so, when we talk about, okay, men, can just think about it and they start losing weight, and women are a different animal, in terms of weight loss and the speed and rapidity in which they lose weight. Tell us what your insight is on that. Doctor gave us one insight. I love to hear yours.
Yeah. Well, I think it all comes down to our biology. Our biology is different because, we're different genders. And so historically, men, you were the hunters and gatherers, right? You went out and you fought the tiger and brought us back food so we could eat. Right. Where women, our job, from a reproduction standpoint, is to bear the children. And so our bodies are wired to carry a little bit more fat on us, because in order to grow life, we need to be able to not only grow the child's life, the baby, but also sustain our own life. And so unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're done having kids, your body is like, hey, just in case you need to reproduce and reprocreate the whole entire humankind. Right. We're going to make sure that you're in a good position to do that. And so that's why women, they do struggle a little bit. For women, I noticed that they usually will lose inches before pounds, which can be very unmotivating if they're only using the scale as their only form of measurement. I never recommend that. It can be a tool, but it can't be the only tool. Yes, especially for women. And the other thing is, for women, we mostly lose weight from the top down.
Right.
No woman wants to hear that, because they want to lose weight in their stomach, their butt, their thighs.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're going to lose it in your face first. And that, Nobody wants to hear that. But it's important to understand how it works, because then you don't get frustrated and quit.
Yes. Yeah. And I do love what you've put together in terms of a lifestyle, and really when we talk about nutrition and all of the things that can get us on a better track of health and wellness, it truly is a lifestyle. I've done every type of diet there is. They work, and I've had health experts say that, yeah, those diets work, but you can't stick with them. You can't do them all the time. You give up. You want it, blah blah blah. And so I love the way you guys have set your life up. That's why I really wanted to have you on the show, because you do have a busy life. You're a testament to that, but you also utilized some other opportunities to help, along the way in terms of your health and wellness. And that is with your hands and the dirt of the ground. Tell us about your garden.
Yeah. So like I said, we started that probably, I want to say 10 years ago. And it's, again, just like everything else, you start out small and you grow bigger and bigger. We started out with a few raised beds. That's a great way to start if you don't have a lot of space in your yard. You can also start with container gardening. But there's a lot of pride in growing your own produce, especially even for my children. They are, for the most part, they're great at eating their fruits and vegetables. And I attribute that to the point where they got their hands literally dirty. They put their hands and they sowed the seeds, they harvested, they cooked the foods. And once they understood the process and appreciated it, they were actually more inclined to eat the fruits of their labor.
Right. That's powerful. So what I'm going to do probably just a tad bit as we get warmer here in Eastern Carolina, I'll probably reach out to you and help us, because we had our hand in the garden last year, and it was going so well. And then all of a sudden, God only knows what happened. I think all the bugs ate all of our stuff. So we'll have to talk to you about that. Now, when we get to this point, as you ladies and gentlemen know, I always like to turn our show over to our guests who are experts in their field and who speak life in so many different capacities. And we're very, very blessed to have my friend, my new friend from Pennsylvania, Adrian Delgado, and her lovely family and husband. They're doing so many great things, helping people get on the right track. Of course, she's the author of, let me get to the book, because my memory is terrible, Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, A Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthier Mind, Body, and Life. And so why don't we take the last minute or so, and I want you to give our audience a word of encouragement about, their own personal journeys of health and wellness, and how, even though you have a busy life, you can still take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite quotes, it says, true discipline is in flexibility. And so a lot of times with our diet, we get stuck in the mindset that it has to either be all perfect or it's all wrong and we fail. And that's just not true. Okay. So when it comes to your diet, it's all about figuring out what works best for you. And don't get so caught up. If you make a mistake, I actually want you to embrace mistakes, because they're learning opportunities. It's an opportunity for you to learn what works and what doesn't. And if anything, they're a step in the right direction, that you have found you're one step closer to figuring out what does work for you.
That's right.
And so you don't need to follow any specific, if I don't care what your neighbor's doing, what your sister's doing, you have to find what works for you, and you have to enjoy the process, or you're never going to stick with it.
You're never going to stick with it because you don't enjoy it. I can say that is so true. Adrian, I didn't think I was going to stick with, being a speaker until I realized it was something I absolutely loved to do. Like, I love to do that almost more than anything I do in life. And so if you don't enjoy something and you don't make it enjoyable, what you have taught people how to do in your book, and how to work around busy schedules and all that, you've taught us how to do that and make life enjoyable. So we're very, very thankful for you doing that. And will you make this promise? Will you promise to come back on our show, Adrian?
I sure will. I've had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, this show is, listen, everybody wants to come on Impacting Life 24/7. I already got Oprah, but I told her she had to wait. I had to kick her to the side, and I said, I'm having Adrian Delgado on. We'll get up with you later. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's probably one of the nicest things somebody said to me.
And so we thank you so much, Adrian Delgado. You can find her at let me give you her website real quick. You can find her at Body Metrics Health on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find her at bodymetricspa.com. And I want you to copy of her book. Her book is amazing. It's called Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, A Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthier Mind, Body, and Life. So, Adrian, we look forward to having you back in the mid to late summer. And then, of course, at the holiday season, we're going to have you back to make everybody feel guilty about eating all them cookies, okay?
Oh, no. I would never do that.
I know. We'll just mess with Greg because he'll have definitely some chocolate-covered M&Ms during the holiday season, too.
So yeah, we can make Greg feel guilty. That's all right.
That's right. He gets paid the big bucks. Adrian Delgado has been with us, and we really appreciate you. We look forward to having you back again. Tell the family we said hello, and thank you for all that you're doing. Okay, Adrian?
Will do. Thank you. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Have a great night. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that's in our two-part series of health and wellness, Monday night and Tuesday night. Here we are. She gave us a very practical, applicable, executable guide to, hey, listen, man, if you got a busy life, the one thing that she talked about that was so simple, that, man, we just need to go get some veggie trays. Why overcomplicate it? Now, you're going to pay a little extra if you don't cut up your own vegetables. You pay for convenience. But what you won't pay for is high blood pressure, because you're eating better food. And you can, instead of going in the kitchen and getting, a handful of Pringles, you can go in there and get you a couple celery sticks or some carrots or some cauliflower or broccoli. Find the stuff that you like and then build convenience into that. Man, very, very powerful. Adrian Delgado, author of Nourish, Eat, and Repeat, a busy woman's guide to a healthier mind, body, and life. And I want you guys to connect with her. Please go to her website. Her website is Body Metrics Health on Instagram and Facebook, and also bodymetricspa.com. So that does it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll be right back here Thursday night, but our show will be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this coming Thursday. We've got some folks on that I'm having someone from overseas on the show, and I forget what time zone they're in, but they're going to be talking about how to deal with being a caretaker. And it's going to be a very, very powerful show. You're really going to want to tune in for that show. It'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Two ladies on our show that have had their spouses go through some very dramatic and dynamic health crises, cancer, and just it is mind blowing. And when I heard their story, I said, "Man, we've got to get you on. Want to get them on together because they talk about how they were caretakers of their spouses, all the guilt, all the weights that they felt not being able to live, breathe." And so it's really going to give you some insights on being a caretaker if that situation should come up, and how to kind of navigate through that. So I'm really looking forward to that show. I think I cannot remember what country the lady will be calling in from, but we're doing it at 4 so we can get her on. I think it's that important. Again, if you'd like to become a sponsor, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. You can be a silver sponsor, which is $1 a month. That helps us keep the lights on, keeps all of our programs in place, keeps all of our programs running. We would love to have you as a dollar sponsor, which is only the silver level, which is only $1 a month. The gold sponsorship level is $5 a month. That helps us keep the lights on, but it also gives you a free commercial for your business, your organization, your book. For as long as you're a sponsor at the $5 a month gold sponsorship level, we will promote and advertise on our show, which is heard now in 9 different countries around the world. So we can help spread the great message about your sponsorship. And then the $15 a month sponsorship is the platinum level, and that helps us take our gear training, GEAR, helps us take our gear training out to at-risk students throughout the country. And we're trying to do that at no cost to the institutions, whether it be Boys and Girls Clubs or schools or whatever. And I was an at-risk kid, so I put this training together for kids that feel stuck and they need to get in gear. And you can help us reach some kids in a very, very tangible and direct way. We have the training virtually as well as in person. So if you'd like to be a sponsor, it's very, very simple. Just go to clkingspeaker.com, and we'd love to connect with you. Also, we're getting the merch tab added. My man Danny is working on that. And we've got quite a bit of merchandise that you can purchase to help us along with the mission and the purpose. This thing is just absolutely busting at the seams, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm loving it. I remember when we first started the show, I think I was busting at the seams. And so we're very, very thankful. Multiple cities, multiple states throughout the country. We get the analytics every week. And then I think, like I said, 9 different countries that hear about impacting life 24/7. That's all because of your faithful support week in and week out. All right, we'll see you Thursday right here on Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King. It'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you so much.